وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Good morning, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem, editor via Michigan.com, a digital business magazine serving the Arab American communities in Michigan. We provide business and real estate news, loan and lending information, support to small businesses, and much more. Visit us at Michigan.com. It's a beautiful summer day, and thank you for being with us. And we hope that you're having a great start to your day. On behalf of US Arab Radio, we wish you the best of time, peace, and happiness. We thank our supporters, listeners, and sponsors for helping us to, specifically, we thank our founder, Layla Al-Husni, for giving us a chance to be on air. It is summertime and it's time to travel. What to expect when you get to the airport, and what's new and what we need to know. We asked our friend, Mr. Youssef Fawaz, affairs officers with the U.S. Customs and Border Protections, to be with us today to help us understand what's going on. Good morning, Mr. Fawaz, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Khalil. It's a pleasure to be on with you. Looking forward to a healthy discussion.
Absolutely. So what do we need to know? You know, we get to the airport, we're traveling outside of the country. And this is something, you know, I'd like to stress to our listeners. It's different than when you're traveling inside the country. It's totally different procedures. So what do we need to know, and what's going on these days?
So before you get to the airport, my biggest suggestion is check your passport. Make sure it's up to date. Many countries, when you're leaving the United States, may require you to have your passport within 6 months of expiring. They may ask that it be updated or up to date. So that's probably one of the most important things to do. One of the other options or topics that we want to talk about with U.S. Customs and Border Protection is ensuring that if you're traveling with large amounts of currency, over $10,000, that you report that to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Coming into or outside of the United States, it's very important to report that currency. Is that
something you do ahead of time, or you can declare it at the airport?
You can declare it at the airport. Another option you can do is go on to cbp.gov and look for the currency reporting section under our travel section, and you can do it with up to 72 hours in advance online. The other way that you can do it is FinCEN, FINCEN 105.cbp.dhs.gov. And it's step-by-step instructions. It'll show you exactly how to do it. You can do it up to 72 hours before travel, and we really encourage that.
Could you repeat that one more time, please? FIN?
Sure, absolutely. FINCEN 105.cbp.dhs.gov. And again, if that's a little bit difficult to try to find, or you're driving or listening on the radio, go to cbp.gov and just look for currency reporting in the search field, and it'll take you directly to that site as well.
Absolutely. And that's C as in Charlie, P as in Paul, P as in Paul.gov.
Charlie Bravo Paul.gov. CBP. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. So, you know, your passport, the currency, what else we need to know before we get in?
Know what you're traveling with. Know what you're bringing back with you into the United States. It's very important that you declare everything that you purchased abroad. Let us know what you're bringing back with you. Also, another very important topic I need to stress on is any agricultural items. That means any fruits, meats, vegetables, plants, animals, animal products. You need to let us know about that. And the reason why that's important is because we're very concerned with foreign pests, bugs, essentially, coming into the United States that could devastate America's agricultural system. So we may ask you some questions if you're traveling with different things. Sometimes you may wonder, like, why did they ask me if I was been on a farm? Reason why we're asking that is to see if there's any foreign pests that we may be aware of or need to be aware of at least. It could devastate our crops. If you're familiar with the I'm sorry, not the capra beetle, but that's another devastating pest. But in Michigan, we're pretty familiar with the emerald ash borer, if you're familiar with that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that killed the ash trees throughout Michigan, essentially. Well,
Yeah.
that came from Asia, essentially.
Yeah.
So there's other pests out there that we're looking for as well to try to, stop those before they even cause that devastation. It could cost billions in economic devastation, essentially.
Even if you bring in something that you shouldn't, as far as agriculture, I mean, you're not in trouble. They just tell you cannot bring it in.
Well, if you don't report it, you could be in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you do report it, no, they'll probably, take that item out and destroy it, essentially, what'll usually happen.
Sure.
But if you do it on a first-time offense for a non-commercial product, agricultural product that you did not declare and you failed to declare, could cost you up to $1,000, and that's for a first-time offense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so now we know what we're bringing in, and you mentioned something, who you're traveling with. What is it? Why is that important?
What you're traveling with or who you're traveling with? Of course, you need to know who you're traveling with.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually you're traveling with your family or friends or whatnot. But it's more important to know what you're traveling with, what you have in your baggage, and be able to declare that. It's very important to declare any items, even if there's the $800 limit for non-dutiable goods. Let us know everything you're traveling with. Be as honest as possible with the Customs and Border Protection officer. They want to know what you're traveling with, what your purpose of travel was, essentially. So they're going to stop you. They're going to ask you a few questions and make you be on your way, essentially. But you are crossing an international border. They want to protect that international border, and they might ask you some questions and briefly stop you for a little bit.
Yeah. I like to remind our listeners that officers are there to help us and serve us. At the same time, they have a job to do, and part of their job is to make sure that everything is done correctly. I mean, it's not like some other countries where people are against you. They're there to help you, but they have a job to do, and cooperation is paramount.
That's 100% accurate. And they don't want to hold you up longer than necessary, but they need to make sure that your story is straight. They want to make sure that everything sounds correct, sounds appropriate to what your travel was. And then once you're on your way, you're on your way. Hopefully we're welcoming you back into the United States, or if it's your first time coming to the United States, welcoming you into the United States.
Absolutely. So the first encounter is at the passport, when the passports are stamped, a few questions, and then we go to collect our luggage, and then we go through customs. Is that correct?
So we have a unified program at Detroit Metropolitan Airport. You may just get stopped one time at the passport control desk, that main primary desk, essentially. They're going to ask you your questions. If everything adds up, the story seems accurate, you may continue on your way. However, you may also get stopped when you're in that baggage claim area where you're collecting your luggage, and there could be an agriculture specialist with a beagle, a little dog.
Yeah,
right? It may be looking for agricultural items as well, fruits and vegetables, meat products and whatnot. You may be stopped by an officer. They may want to ask you a couple additional questions. It's quite rare, but it happens. It definitely happens. But once you go through that process, again, while you're in our inspection area, you may get stopped a second time. They may want to ask a couple additional questions and then have you go on your way. Or they may ask you to, hey, we want to check your bag just to see what you have inside. Oftentimes we do find additional things that maybe weren't reported initially. So, we're there just to do a secondary check, essentially.
Absolutely. When it comes to agricultural products, if things are pickled, roasted, spices, these are okay, right?
There's a lot of exceptions to a lot of things. Even some canned items from certain countries may not be accepted. What I strongly encourage your listeners to do is to go onto cbp.gov and go to the travel site. It'll show you all the agricultural prohibited items and accepted items, because there's a vast amount of items that could or could not be acceptable. It also depends on the country. And again, we were talking about the pests and foreign invasive species.
Sure.
Depending on which country, they could have a multitude of pests and whatnot. So I don't want to just give out an answer, oh yeah, pickled things are good. Well, and then they get stopped and somebody's taking
They lose them. Yeah, yes. They lose
So
them. They're going to blame us for that. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, it's really important to go onto the website, check it out, do a little bit of homework before you go. Check out the process. We have a lot more information on the website, more information that I can discuss in this interview, essentially.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, I'd like to remind our listeners that lying to an officer could be is it a felony?
Depending on the circumstances, it could be, you could be federally charged for lying to a federal officer.
Yeah. The best policy is just tell the truth and be consistent, and it seems like it's, I mean, I travel a lot, and I've encountered very nice officers and very stern officers, and officers who asked me, here's something I was asked one time, is if I have another passport on me, is it against the law to have more than one passport?
No, it's actually not against the law to have one passport. However, CBP will determine your admissibility based on the passport you present. So if you're a United States citizen, you present a U.S. passport, that's how we're determining your admissibility. But we may ask you if you have another passport. Let's say you've immigrated from another country, which is perfectly fine, and to have a second passport. But we may want to determine to see if you were traveling somewhere else that you may have not told us that you travel to, or whatnot,
Exactly.
and use that foreign passport.
Exactly.
So just some things to be aware of that,
When it comes to money, somebody is bringing money from overseas, they would need to, declare where the money came from, the source of the money, and so forth and so on. Is that correct?
So it's important for them to also be prepared, right? You filled out your form online, or you filled out the form in front of the Customs and Border Protection officer, but we want to make sure, and it's totally okay if you're transporting money on behalf of somebody. Please also be aware of that. We understand that there's various circumstances around the world where, financial crises, where family members that could be in need. So that's totally understandable. But we do want to make sure that the source of the funds are legitimate.
Exactly.
So if some stranger comes up to you and tells you, hey, can you transport this money? Think twice about it. Be considerate about that. If it's somebody that you know and that you trust, then that's totally acceptable, again. But we really may ask you the source of the funds just to make sure it's legitimate. And what we're looking for is criminals transporting money overseas or to any very foreign country, to or from the United States. Remember that it's important to know that we're asking for that report of currency when you're entering and when you're leaving.
When you're leaving, exactly. As far as computers and cell phones, how much discretion officers have in asking to see those?
So Customs and Border Protection officers do have discretion to ask to see those. However, we're not just going to ask to see it because that's what we feel like doing today, right? There is a level of culpability. There is a level of us having to explain and justify our reasoning as well. So it's not every passenger that has a laptop or has a cell phone that we're going to extract information from. We do have to provide that, and we have to justify it because we need to stay above board. Essentially, we need to be honest with our traveling public as well with ourselves. Yeah,
absolutely. Redressing. If you feel like you've been treated unfairly at the airport, what can you do about it?
First and foremost, please, if you feel like you're being treated unfairly, ask to speak with a supervisor. A supervisor is always readily available. It may actually take a couple minutes. They may be addressing something else, but there's always a supervisor available to speak with you. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to a supervisor right then and there to address the issue, which we strongly encourage you to address it right then and there, then you can go on to cbp.gov, fill out an online complaint form. Or you can call the Port of Entry and ask to speak with a professionalism services manager. That's their job, is to address any concerns that the traveling public may have had with their interactions with a Customs and Border Protection officer or any CBP personnel as they're crossing the border. But the best option is to address it immediately. Let that supervisor know your concerns, and hopefully we can help remedy your concern on the spot, essentially.
Absolutely. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
No, we just want to make sure that you have our travelers, your listeners, have a pleasant travel experience. And again, if they do have concerns, please immediately reach out to the Customs and Border Protection supervisor. Ask for a supervisor. Our officers know that they must provide you a supervisor. Make sure you report that currency. It's very important. Any agricultural items, any goods that you're bringing into the United States, make sure those are all declared. And we just want you to have a pleasant travel experience and a pleasant experience coming through Customs and Border Protection.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your being with us and taking the time to help us understand what to do at the airport when we return.
Thank you, Khalil, for having me. Always a pleasure being on with you and interacting with you. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. You know, our community has grown and continues to grow bigger and stronger every day in numbers, strength, and specifically in the political arena. We have elected mayors, city council members, board of education trustees, state and house representatives, and US representatives as well. This year, Nasser Beydoun, one of our decorated businessmen and distinguished member of our community, wants to run for the U.S. Senate for the seat vacated by Senator Debbie Stabenow because she's retiring. And with us this morning is Mr. Beydoun. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Khalil. It's great to be here.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure to talk.
Please tell us a little bit about you. You know, you've done quite a bit of great work as far as a businessman and at the chamber. Personally, tell us a little bit about you so our listeners will become familiar with you.
Well, I am first generation American. My parents immigrated here in 1969 when I was 4 years old. It was my mom and dad and my little sister. I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, went to school through Dearborn Public Schools, graduated from Fortson High School, attended Henry Ford Community College for a little bit, and then moved to San Diego, where I finished my university and my graduate school. I lived out in California for about 11 years, came back to, and I got a bachelor's and master's from the University of San Diego, moved back to Michigan in around 2000, started work at the Arab American Chamber of Commerce, worked there for about 6 years as the executive director and the eventually the chairman. I was responsible for the Dearborn Arab International Festival that was held on Warren, helped grow the organization, helped watch our community grow and prosper over those years, focused a lot on improving relationships between Arab business people and the Arab American community and the African American community. I went to Qatar for a couple of years, had some interesting experiences there, came back to Michigan, and I'm here now. I'm a small business owner and a community activist.
Wonderful. And why do you want to run for the Senate?
Well, I think it's time. I think it's time our community was able to aspire to reach that kind of an office. As you said earlier, 20, 25 years ago, politicians wouldn't even take our money. As our community grew and prospered and became more politically active, we've witnessed, like you said, school board. We started with school board, city council. Now we have mayors, state representatives, state senators,
Judges,
Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, and our next progression is the U.S. Senate. And I've been eyeing this for a while. I think, I ask myself and I ask everybody, are you happy with the status in Washington? Are you happy with those politicians that represent you? And a lot of people say, no, we're not. Well, if you keep electing those people who are career politicians, you're going to end up with the same results. You're going to end up with the bitter division. You're going to end up with people who are more interested in, one, protecting their jobs, two, protecting their jobs, second, defending, not your interests, but special interests and corporate interests. And so we need change. This country is not going in the right direction. So I want to be that change agent. So that's why I decided to run.
will you be running as a Democrat?
I am running as a Democrat, yes.
Okay. What would be like one of the most important issue in this race for you?
Well, there's a lot of issues in the race. I don't think that there's one important issue. I think when I go to Washington, I look at it from one, being a small business owner. So because small business is one of the major catalysts and the engine that drives our nation. It creates more jobs. It has more people in the middle class. So we need to work to protect and help nurture small business. The other thing is, like I tell people, my father worked for Ford Motor Company for 30 years. He was a proud member of the UAW. Unions are important. Protecting the manufacturing in this country and making sure that we continue to be a country that manufactures things and we've seen what happened during COVID and the supply chain issues, that we need to be more aggressive in protecting our manufacturing base. And so that's another issue that I would feel very strongly against for, is union jobs, protecting American workers, and then, other things that are important, healthcare, ensuring that healthcare everybody gets healthcare, because our healthcare system is a mess. Big pharma and big business control it at the expense of the small business owner, the individual, people like that. Protecting Social Security is another issue that we need to work on. And then also our standing in the world. We've lost a lot of our credibility in the last 20 years as a nation worldwide. People do not respect us as a country because of our foreign policy that has been a disaster. So we need somebody in Washington that understands the world. And I've traveled the world. I know what people think. I know how America is perceived outside. So that's another reason that I want to go to Washington.
How old are you, Nasser?
I'm 58 years old.
58. And have you held any public office before?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm not a politician. I'm I'm a public servant. Yes. I've never held political office, but I've always been helping people, working with people, whether at the Chamber or the Arab American Civil Rights League. I'm an advocate for people. So I don't think, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a public servant. I don't want to be a career politician. I want to be a citizen leader. Basically, my citizenship is very important to me. My love of this country is very important to me. My leadership, if I'm elected to and go to Washington, is temporary. I don't want to be there when I'm 80 and 90. I want to offer this country what I can offer it when I'm healthy and able to fight for the things that I believe in. And then when I'm done, to come back and enjoy the rest of my life. And
continue serving the community as you now do.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Have you you've held a few meetings and you've held an announcement, and how has the community embraced the announcement?
It's been very positive. A lot of people have come up to me and congratulated me and say they support. This is a very, very tall hill to climb. It's not an easy task. Our opponent has the establishment behind them. They have money behind them. I am the underdog. I am, the least likely candidate there ever is to run for this office. First of all, I'm an immigrant. Second, I'm an Arab. Third, I'm a Muslim. Fourth, I'm a man. And five, I'm straight. So I am the most unlikely candidate, but I also have, I think, the best perspective when it comes to what America stands for, what America should be, and what we as a nation need to strive for, because I lived it. I am, my father was a shoemaker in Lebanon. He came here, got a great job, was able to earn a good living. My brothers and I and sisters have college degrees, are educated. So, this country gave me a lot. And I hate when I see people bashing it, or when people are not doing what needs to be done, and specifically the division in Washington right now. We need to, the Democrats and the Republicans, it's a zero-sum game. Well, it's not a zero-sum game. First and foremost, we need to do what's best for America. Second, then we worry about our politics, whether Democrat or Republican.
Absolutely. What would be, you mentioned several challenges. What would be your biggest challenge right now to take on this task?
As you said, I've never been elected to office, so it's a learning curve. How to run a campaign, how to raise money, how to, go after endorsements, all these things. My opponent, she has a head start because she's a 3-term congresswoman. Plus, she has the Democratic establishment behind her, because they are, they've been trying to clear the field for her so that nobody runs against her. The biggest obstacle, and unfortunately in American politics, is money.
Absolutely.
Raising the amount of money necessary to win an election. And a senatorial race is, the primary is anywhere from $8 to $10 million, and the general election can go all the way up to $50 million.
Sure. And do you see, what as far as coalitions with other groups such as African Americans, Latinos, and others, have you been reaching out, and what kind of reception have you received?
I have been reaching out. I have a strong, I am the only immigrant, so immigration is very important to me. So people, I'm reaching out to the Latino community. I'm reaching out to the Asian community. People who have a same, understand that our immigration policy is broken and needs to be fixed, but it needs to be fixed in a way that is fair, balanced, and compassionate, not like what Ron DeSantis wants to do, with immigration. We are a nation of immigrants. We're all immigrants. It's just a matter of when your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents came to this country. Unless you're Native American, we are a nation of
We all came from somewhere, absolutely.
We all came from somewhere. And I think the immigration is what made this nation great. Because when immigrants come, they bring with them their, some of them bring with them their misery, but a lot of them bring with them education. They bring with them entrepreneurship. They bring with them a sense of wanting to be here and helping. So I think that immigration, my vision for our immigration policy will attract a lot of those. I've reached out to the African American community. I have a long-standing, great relationship in the African American community. But as you know, there's two candidates and a possible third in the African American community. And, and I respect the fact that, they would like to support their own.
Sure. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know about you and your race?
Yeah, how to donate money.
And if they want to do that, how they can reach you?
They can go to nasserformi.com, and the 4 is FOR, NASSERFORMI.com, our website.
This is the website.
And we need volunteers. We need, anybody that's interested in being part of this historic endeavor, because, we are making history here. As, somebody like me, I think, could only win the Senate in a state like Michigan.
Wonderful. Last question for you. Why should people vote for you?
Well, hopefully after they hear my platform and, look at my record and see what I've done and what I plan to do, they will vote for me. I think I am the best candidate to represent small business, to represent union workers, to represent immigrants, because I am all three of those. So Michigan is a strong state, a union state, a small business state, and a state that welcomes immigrants. So, I am that person and I represent them. Because I am one of them. And that's why I ask people to support me.
Absolutely. One more time, if they need to reach you, how they can reach you?
NASSERformi.com.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Good luck to you. This sounds like a great adventure. So we'll hopefully we'll see you in Washington.
Inshallah.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Okay.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Were you recently at the emergency room? urgent care, or at your doctor's office, being told you need a hand, wrist, or elbow specialist? At the Katranji Hand Center, we offer the latest techniques in hand, wrist, and elbow care. From sports injuries to work injuries to everyday hand, wrist, and elbow problems, the specialists at Katranji Hand Center are here to get you back on track. Call us in Troy today at 248-869-4263 or visit us at katranjihandcenter.com to schedule your appointment today.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with the U.S. Arab Radio. We're going to continue the discussion, but we're going to move to a different subject. This subject is close to home, and I'm talking about the property you own. How to take care of it. We have talked to you before about that. Gave you information every year. We like to give you information in the summertime and the wintertime as well. And with us today is Dave Dalfino. He is the, correct me if I'm wrong, the president of Pillar to Post Inspections. Is that correct?
In southeastern Michigan, yes. I have the franchise of Pillar to Post here. We're a nationwide company, but I own the franchise for the southeastern Michigan.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. I've attended several of your seminars, and I consider you the authority on how to take care of your home. So thank you. Welcome to the program, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting us and your kind words.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about you, what you do and your firm, and then we can talk about what to do to your home to keep it really in good shape.
Well, my background is engineering and design, and I've been involved in the construction business most of my life, both commercial and residential. I've been involved for over 40 years. I've had Dalfino and Associates, a property services company, and 25 years ago, I purchased the franchise of Pillar to Post Home Inspections in southeastern Michigan, where we specialize in environmental assessments, property assessments, structure, safety systems involved, mostly for folks that are buying and selling real estate property. We have a team of 10 employees, and that's what we do. We evaluate properties, get a complete written report to our clients so that they know what they're purchasing in most cases. But education is what we focus on, and the investment that somebody is going to be making is a very large investment, and protecting their investment with good information on how to maintain the home, how the systems work, what to expect. That's what our focus is.
Wonderful. So, we like to do it in the summer and the winter. For the summertime, people spend time in the yard and they start doing things around the house. What can we do to maintain our home? Starting from the outside, then we can move to the inside.
Well, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and home maintenance is really the key to understanding how to protect your investment. So when it comes to the inside or out, when it comes to seasonally, whether it's summer or winter, obviously winter we're dealing with cold issues, but they both boil down to one main topic, and that is water. Public enemy number one when you own a piece of property is water. How well you manage that water off of the roof, away from the home, generally is going to dictate a lot of things: deterioration, damages, cost. So number one issue is water concerns. Now, we want to make sure that everybody understands that water concerns can be affecting you in a lot of different areas. But when it comes to the outside, it's looking for points of water entry, whether we're talking about the roof or the walls, the windows, the doors, right to the foundation. It's an understanding of capturing the water off of the roof and making sure that it's moving away from the home and not allowing it to come into the home. That's really the focus on the outside when it comes to water. Any gaps are sealed, keeping water out. On the interior, we all know it doesn't take much water on the floor to create a problem, whether it's slip and fall or a little bit of water damaging a ceiling. So water in the interior is a big problem. We don't think so much about water on the outside unless it's come in.
Yes.
Water on the outside usually has an opportunity to dry up. Driveway's dry in a few hours. We're not worried about it. But water in the inside, affecting carpet, finishing, paint jobs, drywall, all kinds of things. Last week, my son moved into a home. He was only in the home 2 days, and a water valve on the outside of the house from a hose broke in the wall, flooded out a large portion of his basement. Totally unexpected. So interior water is a concern as well.
Yes. So from the outside, what should I look for as far as, let's take it one thing at a time. We have roofs. What should I look for and what should I maintain?
First of all, having an understanding of the roof as to how old it is. So in other words, there's an expectation. If somebody has a house and the roof is fairly new, there's not going to be too many concerns to be anticipating about a roof unless, for instance, there's just been a storm and tree limbs have fallen on the roof, things of that nature. So an understanding of how old the roof is critical for a start. If the roof is 15 years old or older, now you got to pay attention because it won't take as much of an issue to become a leak concern. So with an understanding of how old the roof is as a start, and then begin to look for discolorations, darkened spots, whether it's a hole, whether it's a flashing. Flashing is anything from a roof surface that intersects an adjacent wall, chimney, pipe. Those areas are called flashings. It's designed to deflect or flash away water. So you look for those areas on a roof for discoloration, something that's not looking uniform. Your eyes should be drawn to those things and investigate. The primary problem on a roof that causes leaks are at pipes that come through the roof, chimneys that come through the roof, or at the roof edge where the water flows down to the edges. Those are the most vulnerable. For all the major surface of a roof, unless it's been impacted by, say, a limb that fell off of a tree, generally is not going to just create a leak in the middle. It's usually at an object like a chimney or a pipe or something.
Absolutely. And we encourage our listeners not to go onto the roof. Let the professionals do it. You know,
Absolutely.
Going on the roof is very dangerous. Some roofs are very high. Even a not too high roof is very dangerous. Professionals know what they're doing, know how to climb, and do not get hurt. Right. Other than the roof, we have the gutters. What should I look for?
The gutters, making sure that they are clean. Most people do not like to climb up and look in to clean out the debris. Some people say, well, I don't have too many trees to worry about, but it's not always the trees that cause a problem. Because if the gutters that are designed to capture the water are not able to convey or move the water away from the home, then it backs up and creates all kinds of water entry problems. The problems could be as simple as children throwing a ball and the ball runs down the roof, falls into the gutter. They don't say anything to anybody about it.
Of course not.
Now that tennis ball is blocking the gutter, or a bird builds a nest in the gutter, and then a water management issue starts. So clean gutters are essential. And once you've captured the water in a clean gutter, make sure that you pipe it away from the home so the water cannot accumulate at the foundation areas. After that, the tool of a gutter being managed properly is very essential to capture that water coming off the roof, taking it away from the home. That's why we have gutters. Exactly. Any home without gutters is prone to moisture intrusion in the crawl space or basement.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, one thing I notice when I go in to see homes is grading. Very few homes are properly graded, and this is not an expensive fix.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah.
It really doesn't do much good to have a nice gutter and a downspout and bring the water and dump it at the base of the foundation and have a negative grade like you're referring to. Negative simply means the grade comes back toward the house instead of it being the other way. It goes from the house away.
Yeah.
And if the water, you just bring it down and it can turn around and run right back to the house, you've not accomplished much. Yeah. And it will lead to water intrusion. And as you say, it's very inexpensive to add soil or what have you to direct the water away.
Absolutely. Now, windows, you mentioned windows. What should I look for?
Windows, again, it's points of entry. In other words, gaps. Areas, in most cases, it's caulking around the edges that has shrunk and cracked open. Caulking has a life expectancy of about 5 years. If it's been caulked and painted over, then it will typically last maybe 10 years. But most of the time we find caulking is not painted and it does not have enough ultraviolet light protection, and it quickly breaks down. And when the caulking shrinks, cracks open, now you have a point of moisture entry. Most of the window failure is not the window itself, the glass in the framework. It's the installation or the lack of proper caulking and sealing around
around it. Exactly. Yeah, I can tell you a lot more about this in my house, where we installed, the guy who installed windows did not really do a good job of sealing it between the window and the wall. And then we have to pay for that until we replace them all. And that's a very expensive mistake to really make.
Right. Windows can be very expensive, and the damages caused can be very expensive as well. Doors follow the same suit.
Yes.
And doors are something that most of us don't pay much attention to the door. We grab the knob, we unlock it, we march right in. We don't pay attention to all around the door seal, the caulking and what have you, even though we are faced with that door every day in and out of our home. We pay little attention to it. As long as it locks, catches, we keep walking.
Absolutely.
To make sure water can't come in.
Absolutely. I move into the inside. I always recommend to new owners, I say, the previous family put different stress on the home, then you're going to put certain stress on the home. You're going to put in a different stress on the home. So things are going to go wrong.
Absolutely.
It's better to first you need to be prepared. It's not something that you didn't do your job or the inspector didn't do his job. Just it didn't leak when the inspector was here.
Right.
So you need, I always recommend if the home is old, home warranty. This way it takes a little bit off, the cost wise, the pressure of the new homeowner.
Absolutely. We say public enemy number one is water, whether it's indoor or out, but the lack of maintenance on an area can sometimes be the cause of these water issues, but ultimately life expectancy of the components that make up the home inside and out. A lot of homeowners are not aware that the average life of a garbage disposal, for instance, is only 10 years. And when it fails, they feel like, somebody didn't tell me. Nothing lasts forever. And it can be very shocking to new homeowners when they realize that there's a certain amount of maintenance money that needs to be set aside. The National Association of Realtors and the National Builders Association guidelines are that a homeowner should be prepared to put 1% of the value of the home into it every year to maintain it. That's so that things don't fall into disrepair. So a quick example, if your home is $250,000 value, 1%, $2,500. So every year, about $2,500 should be put into that home to keep it maintained well, so that these big surprises don't happen.
Absolutely, because it will happen.
It will.
Stuff will happen no matter what.
Right.
You better be prepared.
Right.
Yeah. As far as flooring and things like that, anything we need to know, or just make sure that the water.
Flooring has a lot of different avenues of importance. Most of the time, we like flooring that we're comfortable with, but really, flooring needs to be looked at from a durability standpoint and a safety. Durability, the hard surfaces, the ceramics and the wood are always going to be the best. They have less allergies, less dirt and debris collected in them. They last longer. Some of your carpets, while they may look nice, they harbor a lot of things, including moisture and allergies and what have you. But as far as the floors are concerned in a home, the harder surfaces are going to be easier to maintain and last longer. And we are finding that in many cases that actually affects in a positive way the value of the home, having a hard surface.
Sure. One thing I don't get excited about when I see planks in a basement. I don't like to see those, because sooner or later they're going to be water, and water takes residence under the planks. You have to remove them.
That's correct.
I always say basement, if you're going to do anything with it, either tiles or just paint it.
Right. Hard surface, solid surface in the basement is always the best, most reliable, whether it's soft vinyl or something along that line of vinyl tile, but any type of a wood product or anything that can absorb is never recommended in a basement.
Yeah. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We're talking to Dave Dalfino about how to protect your home.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. Again, we're talking to Dave Dalfino from Pillars to Post Inspections. And, my daughter the other day told me that she saw it on TV that we have to clean our ducts once a year, hire a company to do that. I told her once a year is too much. We don't have that much dust in them. Is that necessary?
Once a year is a little excessive. The only way anybody would need to do it once a year is if they lived in a rural area with dusty roads and they could get some of that, or they had a lot of animals in the home. That can be a reason. Or if they have particular health concerns. Even the National Asthmatic Association and the National Indoor Air Quality Association that I subscribe to their standards only recommends 3 to 5 year intervals. 1 year is a little excessive. I like to tell people that 5 years generally is going to be fine, but if you have other conditions such as a high traffic home, a lot of any animals, I don't care if you only have one, animals are a contributor with their fur and dander and what have you. And then, quite frankly, the environment. If the environment in the home is all hard floors, tile, wood, whatever floors, and we don't have as many fibers in the air, generally 5 years is going to be just fine.
5 years is good. Yeah. What can we do to our furnace? Like, I have somebody come and take a look at it every year to tune it and things like that. Am I being excessive, or this is...
It's always a good idea to maintain your furnace. Why? There's 2 reasons: safety and expense. Safety, you want to make sure that your furnace is not deteriorating in any way that could potentially lead to carbon monoxide poisoning or some other safety concern, fires, what have you. But from an energy efficiency standpoint, it's much like your car. You don't drive a car forever and never get it tuned up. You don't drive a car forever and not take care of it. So what happens is we have a furnace, we don't think about it, we go to the wall, we turn the thermostat to the temperature we want, we forget about it. We don't change the filter, we don't do anything to it. Sooner or later, it's going to be a big expense. So having periodic maintenance is important. We recommend once a furnace is 10 years old, it should be evaluated every year.
Every year, okay.
Most people don't. But
I do.
Because once it's 10 years old, the probability of failure starts to rise.
Absolutely. And then the one I have, once I open it, they're always surprised. They said it still looks brand new. So which is
that's a very good point.
Yeah.
When things are maintained and they look brand new and they act brand new, that makes any little repair much more easier to take. When this guy says, well, it needs $100 part or whatever. But if you neglect it, that part is suddenly going to become hundreds and thousands, and then they're maybe having to replace the furnace.
Yeah.
General maintenance goes a long way for health as well as safety and energy efficiency.
Absolutely. Now, the water heater, do we need to do anything with that?
There's different schools of thought on a water heater as far as needing to do. The most important thing with a water heater is to make sure it's vented properly. And I say that because most of them, at least in this part of the country, are gas water heaters. There are areas that have electric water heaters and they are much less maintenance. However, they're not nearly as efficient. But a gas water heater must be maintained with good, clean vents, just like your furnace needs to be vented or exhausted out of the home so that you don't have the risk of carbon monoxide. The ideas that people have of draining the water heater periodically are only good if you start it from the time you own it, of flushing it out every year, and then that's fine. It will help extend its life. But if you buy a home and say the water heater is 10 years old and you flush it, you may or may not benefit from that. You may not benefit from the standpoint it has never been flushed for 10 years. Now you start flushing it and you create different problems.
Sure.
If you're in a rural area where you're on well water, where they have the higher potential of minerals in the water, sediment in the water, it's not good, clean water like we have in the metropolitan Detroit area and city water, then you have the likelihood of building up more sediment in the bottom of your water heater, and there are advantages to making sure that gets flushed out periodically. But for the most part, keep it at a safe temperature, which is between 120 and 130 degrees, and make sure it's vented properly, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, no junk around it, so let it breathe.
Well, that is a good point. That goes for anything that is gas-fired, especially, whether it's a gas dryer, gas furnace, gas water heater, anything that's a gas appliance. Make sure that things are not crammed around it and that it can't breathe. And breathing means good oxygen to it. When you have a flame, you must have good air supply to that flame to support clean, efficient combustion. That's where the energy dollars can make a big difference.
Absolutely. I also like to remind our listeners that, some municipalities do not require CFO and they don't care what you put in your home. Please make sure that you have the carbon monoxide detector on every level, because you don't see it, you don't smell it. It hits you when you least expect it, and make sure they run. It's having it, so many homes I go to, they don't even have batteries. It's like, what is this for? So make sure you have batteries.
Carbon monoxide detectors are very important, as well as smoke detectors. Something that's very different in the two. One, a carbon monoxide detector has a maximum life expectancy of 5 years, and then you throw it in the garbage. You don't change the batteries. You throw it away. A smoke detector has a maximum life of 10 years, and then you throw it away. Just because you can go up to it and push a button and get one or the other to beep does not mean you're protected. Especially a carbon monoxide detector, you look at the back and it will tell you replace by. Most homeowners are not aware of that. Very good point. Great point to bring up.
Absolutely. I put it on my schedule so I don't have to think about it. My computer tells me it's time to change those. Same thing with batteries. I change those on my birthday every year. So I can get them done,
Pick a date. The birthday is one that you can't forget your own birthday.
Exactly. If you do, then you have a bigger problem than a smoke detector. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know right now? We're talking about in the summer, what you can do to protect your home.
I would say that if they protect themselves from unwanted water intrusion, that's going to be one of the biggest things that they're going to be happy with. If you have central air conditioning, it's important that you have a clean filter and that the unit on the outside of the home is not restricted, meaning not bushes, not items put up against it. That is a component that must breathe. They typically pull air in from the sides and exhaust out the top. If you don't have good airflow there and good airflow in the basement or wherever the furnace unit is at the point of filter, then the system is going to labor to be able to cool, which will in turn make your energy dollars go way up.
Absolutely. Dave, I thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Not a problem.
If somebody needs to reach you, how can they reach you?
They can reach us at the Pillar to Post, the Dalfino team. Our phone number is 734-427-5577, or they can email dalfinoteam@pillartopost.com.
Could you repeat that phone number, please?
734-427-5577.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you, Mike, for a great production. Thank you to all the guests and the listeners. We really appreciate you being with us.
Everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you.